Luke Nichols has a channel called The Outdoor Boys. If you've watched his work, you know this guy's all about crazy adventures, from climbing steep mountains to braving freezing cold. He's done it. But what happens when he goes too far and gets himself into some real danger? Let's take a look at 5 of his scariest survival moments, where danger wasn't just a chance, it was right there. And if you're interested in hiking or camping, these tools might save your life if something bad happened in the wilderness. So make sure to check out the hiking gear link in the description. First stop, Alaska. Not just any trip, but one Luke managed to talk his oldest sister, Michelle, into joining. Imagine being asked to leave the warmth behind and head to the Arctic Circle during the dead of winter. Things are about to get intense. Did she know what she was getting into? Let's just say she was going to find out the hard way. Luke and his sister drive in his car through the snowy Alaskan land, and while they are on the road, they count the number of moose. They find a perfect place to set up camp. Luke and his sister begin by removing the snow in the area with shovels, and then set up the tent. The first thing they put in place is a manual heater to fight the freezing temperatures. But just look at the view around them. It wasn't just amazing, it was intimidating. Out there, nature rules, and the only thing between them and the wild? A thin tent that didn't seem like much protection. And then it happened. The wolves. Their howls echoed through the night, deep and eerie, and the sound was close to them. Ever had that feeling you're being watched? Now imagine that feeling 1,000 times worse. They were surrounded by wolves, eyes glowing like fiery coals, waiting. This wasn't your typical camping trip. The wolves were close, way too close. With their howls saying loud and clear, they were in control. But Luke wasn't about to lose his cool. He knew one wrong move could turn this into a nightmare. So instead, he stays calm, thinking through everything, step by step. He knew showing fear would only make things worse. Wolves can sense fear, and that could have been bad news. He finally decides to do some carving. Luke puts out a camera, explaining the situation and how important it is to see what is happening out there. As Luke and his sister huddled in their separate sleeping gear that prevented the cold, waiting for dawn. And then, when the first light of day appeared, the wolves' howls were gone. Just like that, nature won this round, but just barely. Luke recounts the events of the winter camping when they got home, pointing out that they were surrounded with wolves, and it was quite intense. In Alaska, there's a quiet Yupik village called Cotlick. You probably haven't heard of it. It's off the beaten path. But for 4 unforgettable days, Luke Nichols got a taste of the Yupik way of life. Imagine stepping into a whole new world where survival is about more than just existing. It's about respecting and blending into the land. Cotlick isn't just about old customs. It's where people thrive in one of the world's toughest places. This village is hidden in a maze of rivers and tundra, only reachable by boat or plane. It's so remote that for centuries it stayed untouched by modern life. That distance has kept a way of life alive that depends entirely on nature. Out here, nature isn't just something to deal with, it's who you are. In Cotlick, everyone is deeply connected to the land in ways most people can't even imagine. Luke's guide through this adventure was Sam, a local who knows the land like the back of his hand. Sam wasn't just a guide, he was a link between 2 worlds. Luke soaked in everything, but Sam's insights opened a door to a past that stretches back thousands of years. Instead of just observing, Luke began to understand what it means to live in this land, shaped by nature and the people. They started with moose hunting, but it wasn't just about the hunt. It's a community event where everyone pitches in. Hunting is about more than food. It's a crucial part of survival. The whole village depends on it. It's not just a hunt, it's a rite of passage, testing patience, skill, and respect for the animal. Luke wasn't on just any hunt. He was navigating thick brush and winding rivers, hoping to spot a moose. It wasn't easy. The moose blended into the landscape, and every small movement, every ripple on the water had to be watched closely. Hunting here is about patience, not speed. Hours can pass without a sign, but that's part of the rhythm of the land. You have to move in sync with it. After what felt like forever, they finally saw a moose. The hunt was done respectfully, using every part of the animal. Nothing went to waste. And the meat didn't stay in Cotlick. It was sent to the Alaska Native Medical Center in Anchorage, showing that their way of life reaches far beyond their village. Fishing is another key to survival here. But Luke didn't just watch. He jumped in, setting up gill nets. These nets have been used for generations, passed down through years of trial and error. It's a delicate balance. placing the nets where salmon and sheefish are most likely to swim. It's not quick work, but when those nets are pulled in, they hold the village's lifeblood. When they pulled in the nets, Luke saw the result of the community's hard work. The fish weren't just caught, they were preserved for the long winters ahead. It wasn't just about the catch, it was about respecting the fish, the water, and the people who've been doing this for centuries. Seeing an elder use an atlatl was incredible. This ancient spear thrower was a link to the past, a glimpse of how early hunters survived. Luke didn't just watch, he tried it himself. With each throw, he connected more to those who lived here long before him. It wasn't just a history lesson, it was a lesson in patience and skill. They also went seal hunting, another tradition passed down through the generations. This hunt wasn't for sport, it was about food. Seal meat and seal oil are very important parts of the traditional diet. Luke, now equipped with new skills, saw how delicate the balance was. Every choice had to be made carefully to ensure the seal population remains healthy. It's about living in harmony with the land, taking only what you need. But life in Cotlick isn't just hunting and fishing. The real heart of the village is in the evening gatherings, where stories are shared and songs fill the air. Luke quickly realized that these traditions are just as important as hunting. They bring the people together, keeping the past alive. Around the fire, each story is more than entertainment. It's a way to pass down knowledge and values. Luke didn't just observe, he jumped into the cultural experience, including a traditional Yupik dance. This dance wasn't just for fun. It was a physical expression of survival, joy, and respect for nature. Luke felt the rhythm and energy, connecting more with the Yupik way of life. It was one more piece of the puzzle that showed him how everything in Cotlick is intertwined. It wasn't just an adventure, it was a deep dive into a way of life that's been around for ages. His time in Cotlick reminded him that no matter where you live, there's always something deeper to learn about the land, the people, and how everything is connected. When it was time to leave, Luke wasn't just saying goodbye to Cotlick. He was leaving with a stronger understanding of how survival, respect, and community work together to create a life that's in tune with the land. His time in Cotlick wasn't just a visit, it was a transformation, and the lessons he learned there, from the moose hunt to the dance around the fire, will stay with him for a long time to come. Picture the wide-open wilderness of Alaska, snow covering everything, and a stillness so deep it feels like the world is waiting. For many, this is the adventure of a lifetime, but for Luke Nichols, it's just another day out in the wild. However, there was one night, one particular trip, that would change everything. The usual wolf howls filled the air until they turned into something else, something really scary. Let's see what happened. Alaska is a place of extremes. It's breathtaking, beautiful, untouched, and wild. But it can also be brutal and unforgiving. Here, wolves are at the top of the food chain. You don't often see them, but you'll definitely hear them. They're part of what makes this place so wild. Luke and his son, Jake, set up their tent in the snow, their breath visible in the cold air. Luke, who's always up for a challenge, brought his 5-year-old son, Jake, along for the ride. They weren't just camping. They were going to experience winter in its purest form. They had a hot tent and a hammock system to stay warm in the freezing temperatures. Inside the tent, the stove crackles, casting a warm light as father and son share a meal. Just the two of them, the stove crackling, sharing a meal, telling stories. This was the kind of peace you only get in the wild. It's moments like these, away from everything, that bring people closer together. As night took over, the world outside turned into something else. The usual owl calls, the soft rustling of creatures in the snow, and then a sound that made you not hear, the wolves' howls. At first, they seemed far off, just part of the background noise. But as the night went on, they got closer. And Luke never said it out loud because it would get Jake scared. Luke tried to sleep, but the howls wouldn't let him. They didn't just howl anymore. The sound changed. It was like laughter. It was scary. The wolves were way too close for comfort. They were out there, just beyond the tent. And the tension was real. Jake was asleep, completely unaware of the danger outside. In his mind, everything was calm. But Luke, he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Something was out there, just waiting. The wolves circled around, curious but careful. Their laughter, sharp and high-pitched, had a twisted playfulness to it, almost like they were teasing the humans inside their shelter. It was a reminder of how unpredictable nature can be, how quickly safety can turn into danger. Morning came, bringing a calm that was hard to believe. After the chaos of the night, the tension was gone, replaced by the quiet beauty of the snow-covered land. The wolves, their tracks were gone, erased by the fresh snow, and everything seemed normal again. Luke and Jake are enjoying breakfast, steam rising from their cups, the night's events still on their minds. As they ate breakfast, Luke couldn't help but think about the night. The wolves, so close. Their presence is a reminder of how fragile the line is between us and nature. It's moments like these that make you realize you're never fully in control of the wild, no matter how well you prepare. While they packed up, Luke and Jake became an even stronger team. Facing challenges like these and sharing these experiences, they had learned to understand the wild together. By the time they left, the land looked just as untouched as before. Their camp, hardly a mark on the snow. But the memories, the wolves, the tension, and everything they took from that night, those would stick with them forever. It's moments like these that remind us of nature's power, its mystery, and the wildness that's always lurking just beyond the horizon. Imagine standing on a cold beach in Alaska, the wind biting at your skin and the waves crashing in the distance. It's the kind of place that challenges you. Luke Nichols was about to face just that, and the twist, he wasn't by himself. His son Jake was right there with him, ready for whatever came their way. Alaska's coast is breathtaking, but it's also unforgiving. One moment, you're lost in the beauty of the place, and the next, you're fighting against the cold and the strong tides. This is no relaxing getaway. It's the kind of spot where even a fishing trip can become a test of survival. The first catch some bait fish, which they prepare for their fishing trip. Luke and Jake pull out their gear from a rugged vehicle, wind already pushing against them. Most people would have turned back when they saw the wind picking up the sand, but Luke and Jake weren't about to let that stop them. Their plan was simple: get set up, cast some lines, and try to catch halibut. It sounds easy, but anyone who's tried surf fishing in conditions like this knows it's anything but. Surf fishing for halibut is tough. These fish aren't just big, they're strong. It's a constant battle, with the waves working against him. On one try, they catch a giant skullfish. They are as tough as nails, and that must have been what was stealing his bait. He has to cast again. Luke was in a fight with the fish and the environment. Hours passed without a catch, but then Luke sees the rods move, and he goes to pull in the catch, but he gets a double skullfish. This was getting harder by the minute. At this point, they had to go in for the night. Getting camp ready wasn't exactly possible. With the wind blowing sand everywhere, they had to leave it out today. Plus, the tide that kept creeping closer, threatening to get their truck stuck if they didn't move. As night fell, the quiet of the beach became more noticeable. The vast wilderness, the sound of the waves against the shore, it was humbling. It reminded them how small they were in the grand scheme of things. The cold crept in, and the wind didn't stop. Instead, it increased, and it was getting close to the truck, so they packed up and moved for the night. The next day, Luke fixed the rods again in their right position, more hopeful this time around. The whole day, he just kept getting skullfish. The next day, Luke goes to see a halibut specialist, and he decides to help them with good bait, and they go back to the beach. Then, it finally happened. Luke felt the unmistakable pull of a halibut. The battle was on. Jake held the rod, and Luke went to get it. But that was the end. As they were about to leave, Luke caught a smaller halibut. They finally got it. It wasn't just a fish. It was a reward for hours of battling nature. With the fish finally caught, it was time to go home and cook it. The preparation was intense. The halibut sizzling on the fire filled the air with a smell that made everything they'd been through feel worth it. At home, they enjoyed more than just the meal. They savored the moment. All the challenges, the cold, the wind, the exhaustion, faded away. What mattered now was the bond they had built through all of it. Some amazing yet scary moments with Luke, right? And there are many such moments. But which of them do you think was the most dangerous? Let us know in the comments section. Don't forget to show this video some love by hitting that like button, and don't miss our epic stories. Subscribe.